particularly challenging set of readings this morning, not least of which Jesus kicking off talking about hating your father on just what happens to be Father's Day. I will not be talking about this reading this morning. As Kate reminded us at the beginning of the service, today marks the first day of our season of creation. While the season of creation is not an official season of the church, we are among an ever-growing number of congregations that spend a number of weeks leading up to the Feast of St. Francis to reflect on the importance of our environment and the challenges we are facing. This time of reflection reaches its conclusion with our special service where we bless the animals. Dogs will bark, cats will hiss. This year, donkeys will bray. And some of us will worry about the state of the carpet when all is said and done. But that is all yet to come. St. Francis has, in many senses, become a very secular saint. He is the patron saint of ecology and of the environment. He is also the patron saint of Italy, San Francisco, which of course bears his name, and it will please you to know, tapestry workers. But more than anything, he is mostly associated with the care and love of animals. After all, he was the saint who preached to the birds, amongst other animals. However, the overall impact of that Francis has had on this world is greatly underestimated. His story is an incredibly rich one, which is why it is a shame that he is sometimes reduced to the caricature of the saint who preached to the birds, which, on the face of it, does seem like a fairly eccentric thing to have done. What we often lose sight of is the way that these activities of Francis changed the attitudes of people throughout the world in his time, but also in our time. I wonder how many people here spend time in the garden. Who here loves fresh flowers? How many of you enjoy spending time in one of our city's parks? If there's one thing Auckland does well, it's a good inner-city park. Who here enjoys the feeling of sand between your toes and the smell of the ocean? How many of you appreciate the crunch of frozen grass beneath your feet on a frosty morning, or that crisp, crisp air? We are blessed to live in a time and place that allows us to have a very positive attitude towards the environment. We are lucky enough to look at our gardens and regard them as places of beauty, rather than being something that we are dependent upon to provide our next meal. In recent years, there have been a large number of television programs that take people of various skill levels, send them out into a remote part of the world, and then they get filmed struggling to survive. This is all for our entertainment, of course. It turns out that most modern people like you and me have a pretty rough time in these situations. We are not used to having to find shelter, build fires, or locate our own food. Our ancestors would look on us with a strange mixture of wonder, laced with maybe a small amount of pity, I think. When each day is a struggle to simply survive, the human attitude towards the environment tends to be less positive. Throughout most of human history, humanity has tended towards viewing creation as a wild force that is only useful when tamed through human struggle. This negative way of viewing the world has been supported by, dare I say it, poor biblical teaching drawn from such texts like one of the well-known creation stories in the book of Genesis. For example, in the story of Adam and Eve, God tells these characters that only through difficult labour will they gain their daily bread. The writers of that particular text suggest that creation became humans' adversary, something to be fought with on a daily basis. This, of course, stands in contrast to the depiction of the Garden of Eden that is portrayed as a place where humanity enjoyed a harmonious relationship with the environment. Sadly, such creation stories have shaped negative attitudes in the Western world that see the earth as a resource given by God to humanity to exploit for our own survival. That attitude persists today and is clearly seen in the reluctance of many to reduce emissions, clean up waterways, or to prioritise the care of creation over the need to produce greater financial returns. Lloyd Gearing suggests that the voice of St. Francis and of the Franciscan movement that has given voice to the beauty and fragility of creation has been a very quiet one in Christian history. Gearing points out that Francis's view of creation as a place in which we encounter God's presence was an intellectual revolution. To put that more simply, Francis looked at a world that most people regarded as something to be tamed and dared to suggest that God can be encountered within every aspect of our environment. For many of us, in this time and place, it is Francis's understanding of creation that is our understanding. His influence has reached us. And yet, as much as we love our parks and our beaches, our drinkable water, our snow-capped mountains, we continue to ignore the groans of a world in pain. The painter, Michael Shepherd, once showed me an image he had created of a native New Zealand grasshopper. We have thousands of native insects in New Zealand that are utterly unique in the world. Some of them, like the one Michael had painted, are only found in very small and very remote areas. Many of these precious creatures will fall into extinction in our lifetime. I can't help but think that if Francis were among us today, he might talk about the grasshoppers. They don't quite get the attention that our beautiful New Zealand native birds do, and yet they are in greater trouble. It is not enough to enjoy the beach, the trees, the fresh air, the flowers, or the mountains. Francis taught us that loving creation is to encounter the divine, and that love is more than a positive feeling towards something. Love drives us to behave in ways that takes into account the needs of that which we love. To love creation is to think deeply about how we live, so we cause as little harm to the environment as possible. So, this season of creation, let us think deeply about how we can actively demonstrate our love for this precious world, which is our home. Amen.